Welcome to Sacrilegious Discourse.
I'm husband.
And I'm wife.
Together, we're reading the Bible for the very first time.
We grew up without religion and wanted to know what all the fuss was about.
Well, what have we learned so far?
That God is a dick, and apparently some people believe in talking donkeys.
We're not trying to pass ourselves off as experts.
Nope, we're just reading the Bible for the first time and giving our first take reaction.
If you'd like to join us in this venture, you might consider starting at episode 1.
Otherwise, jump in wherever you like.
All right, let's go read the Bible.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Hey wife, did you know that Anchor is sponsoring our show?
Really? Don't we use Anchor to distribute our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts?
Yeah, and we are on just about every other platform available as well, thanks to them.
Why do we use Anchor as our podcasting service?
Well, they make editing and distributing our show a breeze.
What if one of our listeners wants to start their own podcast?
Then they should head over to anchor.fm or download the app to get started.
Awesome! You guys should go do that right now! Husband!
Wife!
Guess what we're doing?
Just do it.
Sacrilegious Book Club!
Alright.
That's what we're doing.
Sacrilegious Book Club.
Yep.
Okay.
We're still covering Asimov's Guide to the Bible. And we're in the Old Testament, starting with the book of Genesis.
All right. Well,
today we are covering. Yeah, shut up.
Sorry, it sounded the way you the intonation was sounded like we were coming to the end. So I was like, okay, let's do the end.
No.
Okay.
Today we are covering pages 83 through 100.
All right.
Now I'm done.
Now you're done.
Cut off hippopotamus.
Let's end it then, and let's go get. No, I mean not end it. Let's go into the thing. Let's read the book.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, something else that I wish that I had said in the intro, but you were so impatient, and so I had to hurry up and just get it done.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's only one more section after this.
Only one more section?
Of Genesis.
Oh. I was like, we didn't finish the book that fast, I know.
No, we didn't.
Okay.
But the next section is pages 100 to 117.
Yeah.
And that's the last section that he covers of Genesis. And I'm very excited about that because did I mention that some of it's a slog?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not going to be less of a slog when we get into the ark building and shit like that.
Shut your face. Because I'm just excited because forward motion, you know?
Right.
It means something.
Finish something. Or almost finish something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So today we are starting on page 83 of Asimov's Guide to the Bible.
Okay.
The Old Testament.
Yep.
With Moab and Ammon.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you remember who those guys are?
No.
I know you were about to say kind of, but you don't.
I remember the name Moab, and I don't.
It's a
really
place.
That's
Moab.
Yeah.
Is
Oh,
a
that's
place,
right. That's
like the Moabites.
Yeah. That's they were up on that plateau. That's where Balaam went to go meet that king, and then stuff.
So. It's also a group of people, which is relevant. Both of those things are relevant here because here's what happened. I don't know if you remember.
Moses married a Moabite woman.
Right, but I'm not talking about
him. It just reminded me, that's all.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Chill. So, the part that I'm at is not Moses.
No, I know.
Okay, so the part that we left off with was Sodom and Gomorrah getting destroyed.
Yeah.
And, what's his butt saved Lot, his nephew Lot.
Yeah.
But Lot's wife turned back and
turned to salt,
and that was sad. Womp womp.
Yeah.
So, but Lot and his 2 daughters escaped from the destruction of Sodom.
Right.
And do you remember what his daughters were about?
Yes.
It was grody. They thought that the destruction was not just there, but that it was universal. So they literally thought that
it was the end of the world.
They were the only possible mothers of future humanity. And that's the only forgivable thing that it can even start to try to put to what they did, which is get their father Lot drunk and then hump him.
Right.
And then they both gave birth to the nation of the Moabites and the Ammonites.
Yeah.
So Moab and Ammon.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So that's why that's relevant.
Okay.
So they are descended from Lot.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's that section.
Okay.
The next section is Gerar, and it's real short. That's page 84. And Abraham was like, bitch, bye. So he took off from the destruction, and he bounced over to Gerar.
Okay.
And that was in land that would eventually become run by the Philistines.
Got it.
Okay?
Okay.
But that's that.
Right.
So.
Well, that was, okay,
that was Gerar.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I just like how I summarized it.
Yeah.
Bitch,
good
bye.
Stuff. Right.
Yeah. Okay, so the next section is Beersheba, not to be confused with Bathsheba.
Right.
Okay, Beersheba, which starts on page 86.
Okay.
So there was that whole bit with Abraham and Sarah and their concubines and all that.
Yeah.
You know, where he had her servant and his servant, and he married all of them.
Right.
And had 1 million babies and
yeah,
whatever. So Abraham and Sarah gave birth to Isaac.
Right.
And because of that, they cast out, at Sarah's insistence, they cast out Hagar and Ishmael.
Right, right. Which I thought was really shitty.
It was. But we'll come back to that in a little bit.
Okay.
So water supplies mark the importance of a place.
Obviously, because they were all about the fucking wells.
Yes, exactly. Well, they lived in an arid desert, so
right.
It was very important to establish those. So when Abraham set up a well and established ownership of it with the king of Gerar, that was considered the founding of the town of Beersheba.
Got it.
So he
so
set
all it
that
takes
up.
To found a town is a well.
Well, no, he bought the land. He bought the land and then set up the well.
Got it.
And so by owning the land and then setting up a well, that establishes a town. It's not just, you have to have local agreement that area belongs to you. You can't just set up a well, and it's not like putting the flag on the moon and saying that belongs to the U.S. now. Bye.
Right.
So a reliable well obviously is essential for permanent communities, and as you pointed out, that's why Genesis goes on and on about the tradition of digging wells.
Yeah, I got sick of hearing about fucking wells.
So did I. But it makes sense why they would think it's important.
Right.
Even up to the point when they started putting all this down into a written format.
Right.
It was still important.
Yeah.
So when Palestine was under Turkish rule prior to World War I, Beersheba was a small village with some wells still in existence.
Huh.
The largest of which was called the Well of Abraham.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, that may or may not be the well that Abraham set up.
But it's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool, but this is even more like, I don't know if it's cool, but interesting. Today, Abraham's well is a historical well which houses the Archaeology Museum of Beersheba, where you can book tours.
Wow.
Literally Monday through Friday, shorter hours on Friday, and they have a sign that says no pets allowed. So I just thought that was interesting. Like, you can literally go there and visit a place that, even if it's not that specific well, it still dates back pretty far.
Right.
And that's just cool.
And there's some sense that it could be at least related to Abraham's well.
Right. If it's not specifically Abraham's well, it's still in the right neighborhood.
Right.
And that in itself is cool.
Yeah.
So that's that section. Going on to page 87, we're going to talk about Paran.
Okay.
Now, remember we said Ishmael and Hagar took off?
Yep.
Well, they got kicked out. But
right.
When they got kicked out, they took off for Paran, and he took an Egyptian wife. And the relevance of that is that Ishmael's mother, Hagar, was an Egyptian.
Okay.
So the Ishmaelites are all from Ishmael.
Got it.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that happened.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so next section is Moriah, page 87.
Okay.
And this is where Abraham almost offered up his long-awaited son Isaac as a human sacrifice.
Yeah, that was bullshit.
It was bullshit. Now, the town of Moriah is not mentioned anywhere else in the Bible or otherwise.
Interesting.
Yeah. Tradition among some Jews indicates that it's the site at which the Temple of Solomon would eventually be built. Now, we don't know about the Temple of Solomon because for us, where we're reading the Bible, Solomon has only just been born as David's son.
Yeah.
So that is also referred to as Zion in most biblical references. So some people are like, oh, I wonder if, but it's not very likely based on history and geography.
Sure.
All that. That's a stretch.
There's a lot of not very likelies in the Bible.
Right. But people want to make connections, and they want things to coincidentally tie together and create this greater sense of continuity, history, tradition.
Right.
And they just want it to be beautiful.
Real bad.
Like
real bad.
I mean, we do that sometimes in our lives, not religious stuff, but we're like, oh, okay, think about how we're like, we thought it was really cool that the well of Abraham just now.
Yeah.
If that was still the same well, that would be cool.
Right.
Why would it be cool?
History.
I don't know, but it's still cool.
History.
Right. Well,
to be able to go visit the well of a guy who basically spawned all of the shitstorm that is Western and Middle Eastern religions.
The three Abrahamic religions.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, insofar, that guy is responsible for a lot of shit.
Yeah.
A lot.
I mean, do you think that, religious wars are blood on his hands?
I mean, he didn't know any of this was going to transpire.
Neither did Jesus, for that matter.
Right. But, I mean, there is an awful lot that has spawned from Abraham,
True.
So, I mean, that is it's a big thing.
Right.
So, I don't know.
What hell hath you wrought, Abraham?
Right.
So the next section is Aram and Chesed. Just kidding. It's Chesed or Chesed or...
Cheese-it?
Not Cheese-it.
No,
or
not
Cheese.
Cheese-it. Okay.
I'm going to say Chesed. Because
Okay.
that just sounds most, I don't know, accenty.
Sure.
And that's on page 88.
Okay.
So Abraham's brother Nahor, back in Haran, begat lots of begats.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? He did. The only two that I'm going to mention here are Aram, and that's the Arameans.
Okay.
But there's a question because was he born to Shem or Kemuel? If he was the son of Shem, then that indicates the Arameans were independent at the time that Genesis was reduced to writing.
Okay.
If he was the son of Kemuel, or Kemuel, that indicates the kinship of the Arameans to the Israelites. So there's some question there. And, that always gets you in trouble when you have people's names and you're not sure who to attribute them to, or if it's
right.
two different guys with the same name. You just never know which way to go.
Yeah.
Chesed is the father of the Chaldeans.
Okay.
Or Chaldeans.
Sure.
Which, I mean, that comes back. We talk about them some bit.
Yeah.
And then Rebecca, who is the daughter of Bethuel. She's also the first cousin of Isaac. Which
yeah, I remember this.
Means that she married her cousin, which is gross.
Right.
And she becomes, therefore, one of the ancestresses of the Israelites.
Right. Okay.
So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It's no wonder that Rebecca is still to this day a very popular name among Christians and Jews alike.
Right.
So,
as far as women in the Bible go, she was a big thing.
Right. Even though she isn't given much mention, she's given some mention, and that's kind of cool.
And is the mother of...
Right. I mean, that's cool. Next section starts on page 89, and it is Machpelah. Abraham...
Sounds like a Klingon dish.
It really does. Machpelah.
Right.
Yeah. Abraham and Sarah move back to Hebron, right?
Uh-huh.
So they're going along. And then Sarah eventually dies, of course. That's
right.
sad. Abraham purchases the burial plot from the local Hittites.
For a certain amount of silver.
Mm-hmm. And then that's where he is eventually buried too, along with his son and his son Isaac and Isaac's son and wife.
Right.
So there's this whole bunch of people
that got buried there,
Yeah. Traditionally, the site of this cave has been located and is enclosed in fortress-like stone walls, the enclosure of which is called Haram, which means the forbidden place, and a mosque is present there.
So they know where this place is?
Traditionally. We think. That means...
Oh, so they think they know the place, but they're not 100% sure.
Yeah. And clearly not enough archaeology has been done on that site, and there's a mosque there now.
At least as of 1967.
Right. 68. This book came out in 68.
That's why I
Yeah. So, it may or may not be the site. It's
Right.
still probably some kind of historical thing, but maybe not, biblically speaking.
Okay.
So, Mesopotamia, next section, starts on page 90.
Okay.
So, Isaac needs a wife, but not a Canaanite one, obviously, because gross, right? We hate the Canaanites. Ooh. So, Abraham sends a guy over to his brother Nahor in Haran.
Okay.
Because he's like, yo, my son needs a wife.
Right.
So the area surrounding Haran is only called Mesopotamia by Greek translations, not Hebrew ones.
Okay.
Not originally. The original Hebrew term is Aram Naharaim, which, his brother is Nahor. So Naharaim.
Got it.
Yeah. And Aram Naharaim means between the rivers, which denotes the Tigris-Euphrates region.
Sure.
So,
okay.
We just have to remember as we're going through this, all of these people are not actually persons. They're all nations and tribes. Mostly tribes.
Right.
And so when we say somebody fought somebody else, what we mean is this tribe fought that tribe.
Right.
And that's going to be relevant a little bit later in this episode. So just hang on to that notion. And I know I keep repeating that. So I apologize if it's old hat. It's just very important to keep that front and center of all that we're reading here in the book of Genesis.
Okay.
Currently, and when I say currently, I mean as of the time that Asimov wrote this, which as you pointed out is 1968.
Right.
It's referred to via the native name of the land, which is Iraq.
Okay.
And Iraq does not actually, or at least it didn't at this time, house Haran within its borders. It's right outside.
Got it.
I'll tell you in a minute where it is, but that's a different section.
All right.
So I just thought that was interesting. We know Iraq.
Right.
We know that one.
Yep.
So the next section is Syria, page 91.
Okay.
And so Isaac marries Rebecca, gross.
Right.
Whose brother is Laban the Syrian. Okay, whatever. But Greek Syrian means Hebrew Aramaean. So there you go.
Got it.
And that area, Syria, houses Haran within its borders. So,
so Haran is in Syria then?
Yeah.
Or what is... Okay.
Yeah. Which is near Iraq.
Right.
And as we learned during one of our last episodes, I can't remember which one, Damascus is the capital there.
Right.
So,
yep.
Yay. Okay, next section, Midian or Midian, page 92.
Okay.
Abraham took another wife, Keturah, who bore him lots of kids, among them Midian and Shua.
Okay.
Okay? And those are eponyms of various Arabian tribes, which we know.
Yep.
And the Midianites and the Ishmaelites are used almost synonymously in the Bible due to their close proximity. So anytime you hear Midianite, you can also think Ishmaelite and vice versa.
Okay. And we talked about this in the last, I think, book club maybe, or sometime recently. But the names that we're using for these people who had kids and what have you, they're all tribes. They're all... we're not really talking about people necessarily. We're talking
literally what I just said.
No, I know. I'm just reminding. I'm just saying, because the Bible is very people or specifically people.
The names begat the names.
Right.
But it's the
they're referring to tribes and they're referring to groups.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, there's going to be something that I say later on that kind of makes me appreciate something a little better than I did the first time through.
Got it.
But anyway, next section is Edom, page 92.
Okay.
Isaac and Rebecca have twin sons. Do you remember their names?
I do not.
Esau and Jacob.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And Esau, they chased each other and fought each other and did all kinds of stuff. And one was trading things for, birthright shit and all kinds of stuff.
Exactly. So Esau was the hunter. He's an outdoors man, loud and crass, and he was loved by Isaac. And as the older one, the one that came out first, he was entitled to the birthright as well as the father's blessing as chief heir.
I remember I was pissed off because he traded it for soup.
Right, but hold on a second, because I just said something that when we first read through the Bible, we were kind of confused.
Okay.
The birthright is a separate thing from the father's blessing as chief heir. And so when those are two separate items.
Okay.
So we were confused because Jacob later on tricks him in order to get the blessing.
Right.
And we were like, I thought you already fucking had it. I don't understand.
Right.
It was two separate items.
Okay.
So that, for whatever reason, either it wasn't phrased really well, go figure, it was the Bible, or it just didn't click, or the way Isaac Asimov phrased it made it make sense.
Got it.
It's two separate items.
It's still not clear to me what the difference is.
I don't know what the difference is, but it is very clear to them that it's two separate things.
Okay.
So you can be the heir but not have your father's blessing, and vice versa.
Got it.
And you can have the birthright and not be the heir.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Sure.
I'm not quite sure how that all works out, but to have both comes automatic if you're the firstborn son.
Got it.
So Esau gets renamed Edom, as in the Edomites.
Right.
Which means red, after coming in hungry and tired, begging Jacob to feed him some lentils.
Yeah.
Which Jacob only does after demanding and receiving the birthright in exchange. So that's the first thing he does.
Right.
He gets the birthright. I think maybe the birthright is just like, I get all of the... That it doesn't mean I'm the heir. It means that I get all the special privileges of being firstborn. Okay. So, like, I get the top bunk. I get the pick of the larger bedroom. You know what I mean? Like,
We're
how
just
we
guessing,
would...
but...
I'm just guessing, but... That would be how I would maybe differentiate birthright, like the privileges of being born first, from blessing as the chief heir.
Right.
Because otherwise, what's the point of having two separate things?
Sure.
So he gets the birthright. Okay, he's not yet the heir.
Got it.
He's just got the birthright, so he gets the top bunk.
Yep.
Okay. Jacob then later on when... what's his name? Isaac is sick and tired and old and dying and shit.
Yeah.
Jacob steals the father's blessing by dressing in Esau's clothes and pretending to be his brother.
Right.
So
he even put on like fucking goat skin or something.
Mm-hmm, to feel hairy and like an outdoorsman.
Right.
So, as I was like reading through these notes, I was kind of thinking that Esau and Jacob were kind of like Cain and Abel, but in reverse.
Yeah.
Because Esau was the hunter, but he got tricked.
Yeah.
Or robbed.
Right.
And Jacob was the quiet one, whereas that was Abel in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in the first place, we've got the hunter is Cain, and he prevails. But here, the hunter is Esau, who gets...
Wait, I thought Cain was the farmer guy.
Mm-mm. Are you sure?
I'm pretty
sure
about that, actually.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure about that.
You could be right. I don't fucking know.
Because I remember talking about how when they showed their things to God, and all Cain had was just some vegetables, and that might be why. And like God was going off about the lamb sacrifices that Abel had made, and that made Cain jealous, and that was what contributed to him murdering him.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I think I'm right.
Okay. Well, because they would have been arguing about the settledness. No, hold on. They were all, you know what? I really can't remember. I have it really mixed up in my mind. But anyway, the comparison still stands, whether it's in comparison of them switching or comparison of being exactly the same. The comparison still stands that, one of them is more outdoorsy and one of them is quiet and, mama's boy.
Right.
So, I'll have to look that up because I'm curious now which one was which. But, at any rate, this represents how the Israelites, Jacob, the younger brother, entered Canaan only after the Edomites, which is Esau, the older brother, was already established.
Got it.
So that's, again, that's the part I was referencing when we think of these people as being tribes, not persons.
Right.
Because the Israelites came in and took something that was already established. So, the younger brother came in and then ruled over the Edomites.
Got it.
So that's what that section really meant.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And so that kind of clears up that a little bit.
Right.
But the next section is Bethel, page 93.
Okay.
So Rebecca sends Jacob away to protect him from his jealous older brother. Because she's like, you stole his birthright as well as his blessing from his father. So you need to get your ass away from here.
Right.
You need to go get safe.
And that was his favorite. That was her favorite. Like her favorite son.
Yep. So she was also like, you can go get a wife from the descendants of Nahor,
Right.
That'll be great. Stay safe, get a wife. Awesome.
Yeah.
So while Jacob was on the run, he had a dream of a ladder, Jacob's ladder.
Yeah.
Which it was more likely a ziggurat.
Okay.
And, it extended to heaven and angels were ascending and descending. Mm-hmm. And he named that place Bethel, which means house of God, which is why it was more likely a ziggurat than a ladder. And there was a holy temple or structure used to stand on that site.
Okay.
And that would kind of go with why he named it House of God or whatever.
Sure.
So the next section is Reuben and His Brothers, page 94. So we moved right ahead.
Right.
Okay. Jacob got to Haran and he married Leah and Rachel.
Yeah.
And there was, some trickery there.
Sure.
And they were the daughters of Laban, who was Rebekah's brother.
Right.
And so he literally married his first cousins. Gross.
Right.
Okay? Gross.
Yep.
So, I'm going to real quick buzz through the names of the children.
Okay.
The wife, Leah, that was the one that he married first, accidentally.
Yep.
She gave birth to Reuben, Simon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulon, and Dinah, who is the only daughter mentioned.
Got it.
Okay?
Yep.
Then his wife that he actually had wanted to marry in the first place, Rachel, gave birth to Joseph, which we learn about later is the guy that got sold into Egypt, slavery, and the coat of many colors, and and Benjamin, which was the one that the little brother they all loved.
Right.
Okay, so Jacob also married two concubines, Bilbah, who gave birth to Dan and Naphtali, and Zilpah, who gave birth to Gad and Asher.
No wonder Dan was always like a second afterthought type thing.
Yeah.
He was not really one of the true
he was
tribes.
From a concubine.
Right.
So these represent the 12 tribes of Israel.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's interesting because it really... the favorites are Jacob and Benjamin as far as the tribes go. As when they're talking about favoritisms and stuff like that.
You mean Joseph and Benjamin. Jacob's the father.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. I'm sorry. Yeah. So they're like the favorites, and it works out that way in further stories too. So it's really kind of
Joseph
neat.
and Benjamin are from his one true love, Rachel.
Right. Yeah.
And then the other one that's important is Judah, and I'll tell you about that guy in a minute.
I like knowing that the reason Dan is because of this. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, he's born of a concubine.
Right.
Not even the second wife, just a servant.
Right.
When the Israelite kingdom was divided, the Joseph tribes dominated the north.
Okay.
While the Judah tribes dominated the south. So Joseph and Judah were the two most important tribes mentioned, even though we hear about the Benjaminites quite a bit.
Well, yeah, because it was the baby and they... I mean, they were the crowd favorite,
Yeah, exactly. All 12 tribes are Israelites, but only the Judah tribes are Judeans, which are Jews.
Interesting.
Yeah. That struck me. I was like, wait, what?
And I'm assuming these are, at least at the time, considered different races of people, essentially. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. All right.
Different tribes, different races of people.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So next section is Seir, or Seir.
Okay.
Seir, page 96. Jacob prospered in Haran and was finally able to leave with his wives and children. You know, remember he was like tied to Rachel and Leah's father.
Yeah.
And he kept not being allowed to leave.
Right.
Which is bullshit. He wanted to reconcile with his shitty brother Esau.
Yeah.
Or wait, no, with his good brother Esau. Jacob was the one that, you know, was the bad guy there.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he said why I just said shitty brother.
Right.
Jacob was the shitty brother.
Yeah.
I think because we hear so much about Jacob, like in my mind, he's got to be the good one. But wait, no, he's the fucking asshole.
Right. Yeah.
So he's like, oh, I screwed this guy over, so I'm not sure how this is going to go.
Right. I remember we thought they were going to get into a fight because Esau was amassing, like bringing an army in. Like, we're like, oh, what's going to happen?
So Seir is Edom, okay? Land which would eventually be occupied by the Edomites.
Right.
And Seir is also a mountain range.
Okay.
But Seir is also the highest peak of that range, which is called Mount Seir, but also Mount Hor, because the land used to be occupied by the Horites.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's Seir.
Got it.
Okay? You got it?
Sure.
Okay, next section.
Okay.
Israel, page 97. Jacob is totally scared to meet his brother again for the reasons we mentioned, and he's concerned about crossing the river and leaving his family vulnerable because it's the Jabbok River.
Sure.
Or the Jabbok River.
Right.
And it's tough, and so he's like, oh no, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
He gets his family across, like he goes over early, he gets up early, takes everybody across, gets them over there safely, and then he's alone on the side, you know, he's the last one to cross, basically.
Sure.
So he's alone over there, and a guy shows up and wrestles with him all night.
I remember that,
And we were like, the fuck
is that?
Yeah. In the morning, the guy names him Israel.
Right. We assumed that had to have been God or something.
Right. But what this is tribes.
Right.
Not people.
Yeah.
So this means that up until that point, Jacob was this man over here giving birth to all these tribes, and then he crosses this river,
and
then they are the children of Israel.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the point I was getting to.
Got it.
Where I was like, oh.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
It was very, like, poetically written, and you're supposed to be able to read through the lines and understand that, okay, clearly Jacob did not really wrestle a guy all night, because that's just fucking weird.
Right.
No, okay.
Well, but there's a lot of weird shit in the Bible,
there
too.
Is.
So, I mean, it's hard to say.
No, definitely. But this one, I'm like, okay, I got this one. This one makes sense.
Right.
It was when he crossed the river, he got everybody over, and he was the last one over, and as soon as he crossed over, they were no longer just individual people. They became solid. We are the tribes. We are the 12 tribes.
But I feel like this symbolism with regard to tribes is exclusively in Genesis, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, because you get further on and there are actual stories of people and kings and stuff.
When you get into the Deuteronomistic history.
Right.
And yes, you are right, because it's different authors.
Right.
Putting it all together.
Sure.
So we've got these people early on just describing basically the history of the people of the earth.
Right. Yeah.
And so they are very...
They told stories of people to remember all the people.
Yes. Exactly. So, I mean, you're not wrong. You just have to remember why.
Right.
Is all.
Right. So really, we're not basing... I mean, maybe there were really some of these people or something. Like, maybe Abraham really existed, right?
Who knows?
Whatever. Fuck cares. But we're really just... We could just be describing groups of people. Mm-hmm. Like... And maybe, you know, Abrahamic religions aren't based on Abraham, but on Abrahams.
Exactly.
Or, you know what I mean? Like, just a group of people that was existing back then.
Exactly. That makes it a little easier to swallow. Like, instead of just one guy thinking about groups of people, makes it easier to understand how they were trying to just boil all this down to make it easier to remember and retain.
Sure. But the game of telephone also has a tendency to lose meaning as to what the original intent was.
And then keep in mind the people putting this all together were writing so much of this the people putting this all together were writing so much of this from their own perspective and understanding of what had happened, which adds another layer of confusion.
Definitely.
So the last section here for today is Shechem, which starts on page 98.
Okay.
So Esau greets Jacob without a grudge and treats him kindly.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah.
So Jacob's like, awesome, but can you leave me alone now? Thanks, K, bye.
Right.
Or K, thanks, bye.
Right.
Yeah. And so then he and his fam move in peace to the city of Shechem.
Okay.
So that reconciliation was real short. It's like, you're not going to kill me? Okay, awesome.
Moving along.
Yep. Here's some beer. Maybe we'll get together never.
Sure.
Yeah. So he moves to the city of Shechem, which places a safe distance between him and where he grew up. Meaning between him and his brother. So it sounds
like maybe they brokered a deal, like, you stay over there and I'll leave you the fuck alone. But you come any closer and,
that's more likely.
Right.
That is more likely. I mean, if I was Esau, I would be like, it's been years. I have had some mental health and therapy and medication, and I'm over it. I'm not going to kill you, but I do not want you around.
Like, it's good to see you, bro, but never again.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, you're clearly not trustworthy. I'm glad you have all these wives and children.
Right.
That's still not good for me because that makes it even worse for me, honestly.
Right.
So you just stay over there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to come after you. I have no interest in retribution. My counselor says that, that's not good for anybody.
Right.
So
yeah.
I'm working through my own shit.
Sure.
But please do not come home again.
Right.
Just go.
Right.
And, Jacob's like, sounds good to me. Cool.
Later.
Thanks for the beer.
Right.
I'm outies. So the most important city north of Jerusalem, based on strategic positioning between mountains and roads, is Shechem.
Okay.
So it was great that he went there.
Gotcha.
Like, it was so. I mean, this guy can't lose.
Right. Yeah.
Jacob just cannot lose. The site sets between Bless and Curse Mountain. Remember those?
Interesting.
Yeah, Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal.
Got it.
Remember?
So, yeah.
So the Romans eventually rebuilt a town near there, calling it Neapolis, which is New City.
Right.
And Polis.
Right.
Which is now called Nablus. That's its present name.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Shechem rivaled Jerusalem in terms of being a sacred religious center, given it's where the first altar built by Abraham after entering Canaan sat. So it's pretty fucking important.
Right.
And yet, prior to reading the Bible, I've never heard of Shechem.
Right.
So.
Yeah, me either.
Awesome.
Right.
So that is it for this section.
Okay.
Of the Asimov's Guide to the Bible, the Old Testament. Next time, we will be reading pages 100 through 117.
Okay.
And that will end the book of Genesis.
Cool.
We will cover the topics of Hamor the Hivite. I hope I said that right.
Okay.
Ephrath, Bilbah, Amalek, Seir the Horite, Bela and Jobab, Potiphar, Pharaz and Zara, Pharaoh of Joseph, the river Nile, On, as in on my nerves, Goshen, Ephraim and Manasseh, and finally, Judah.
Okay.
Okay? So, again, that's pages 100 through 117. Hope you have picked up a copy and are reading along. Otherwise, you can just listen to me try to summarize badly.
Right. Oh, FYI, somebody had reached out to us on YouTube and asking where to find a copy of the book. And I'll be honest with you, like if you look into standard places like Amazon and stuff like that, you're probably not going to find one. Or if you do, it's going to be really freaking expensive. But I just did, like when we got ours, I just did a Google search and found one on like Google Shopping for like $8 to $15. You can find one.
You might also try thriftbooks.com, which is a really great privately owned, so not like this huge conglomerate. They often have these kind of older books, and you can get a really good deal and know that you're not buying from Amazon, so that's kind of cool.
And no, we're not being paid for any of these spots, so you're welcome.
Oh, no, not at all. I wish. Good grief. No, I get a lot of stuff from thrift books, though, and I love them with all my heart. So shout out to them. You might also check your library. Sometimes libraries have these. And keep in mind, when they first came out, they were 2 volumes. So be sure to search both ways.
Right. Yeah, you could find it in multiple different ways. There's 3 different books that you could find. The separate 2 books and then the combined book. So.
Right, and we happen to purchase the combined book, which I'm glad of.
Yeah, no, this lets us go into the whole Bible.
The whole thing at once and not have to worry about, are we going to be able to get the other half?
Right, yeah.
So good luck, and sorry I can't help you better, and thanks for playing along. See you next Saturday for Sacrilegious Book Club.
See you guys. Hey, wife, I guess that's the end?
But husband, that's just sad.
It doesn't have to be. We are on lots of social media platforms like Twitter. Our handle there is sacrilegious_D.
For D's nuts.
Oh my God. Stop doing that. Anyway, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. There's a link to all of our social media sites at our website.
Ooh, we have a website?
Yeah, it's sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, where you can also find a link to our merch shop.
We have a merch shop?
Yep, we have podcast-themed clothing, mugs, notebooks, and more, as well as an atheist and science-themed products.
Wow, our fans should really go check that out right now.
Definitely. They can get in touch with us by sending an email to sacrilegiousdiscourse@gmail.com. But before they do that, we could really use some help.
Oh yeah? With what?
Well, it's not free running the podcast, and we need some financial support in order to get better equipment, which will free up time so we can concentrate on our podcast and our fans.
Okay, so what should they do?
Head over to patreon.com/sacrilegious discourse and sign up as a contributor on our podcast. Supporters there receive additional bi-weekly episodes that we record just for our Patreon members for as little as $2 a month.
Also, we'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe on whatever platform you're using.
And Apple Podcast reviews help us out tremendously.
Like and subscribe. Leave an Apple review. Join us on Twitter. Support us on Patreon. That's a lot of instructions. Don't forget to say thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.